final item of business is members' business debate on motion 8211 in the name of Rona Mackay on condemns unpaid trial shifts. This debate will be concluded without any questions being put, and I would ask those members who wish to speak in the debate to press the request to speak buttons. And I call on Rona Mackay to open the debate for around 7 minutes, please, Ms Mackay.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'm pleased to be able to bring this debate on unpaid work trials to the Chamber today, and I thank everyone from across the Chamber who signed the motion. As most of you will know, my colleague at Westminster, Stewart McDonald MP, is bringing this forward as a Members' Bill. But because it's an issue which affects people from across the UK, he particularly wanted a debate in the Scottish Parliament to reflect the cross-party and cross-border support for this serious issue. Organisations supporting the bill are the Scottish Trade Union Congress, National Union of Students, Better Than Zero, the Daily Record, just to name but a few. The Unpaid Trial Work Periods Prohibition Bill 2017-19 had its first reading in July last year. Since then, it's gathered cross-party support at Westminster. The second reading is due to take place on March the 16th this year. It's gathered nearly 100 responses, and 56% of people either had or knew someone who'd been offered a trial period. Many respondents referred to the trials as demeaning, soul-destroying, humiliating and desperate. An independent report shows unpaid work trials amount to £1.2 billion in missing wages. Presiding Officer, let me say at the outset of the debate that unpaid work trials are not work experience for students or pupils, which I think we would all agree is invaluable in helping young people to learn about the working environment and help them in their choice of employment. This bill is about complete and total exploitation of people, predominantly young, who are doing a job they should be paid for. This is about employers giving false hope to so many people desperate for a job, desperate to feed their family in a country where bankers get bonuses, directors of failing firms such as Carillion get massive payoffs, unemployed young people get cheated of a fair day's pay. This is the shameless exploitation of people for free labour, and as we know, these shifts are often used to cover staff shortages and save money. However, we should recognise that many responsible employers already do pay their trial shift workers, and of course that should be applauded. Presiding Officer, this is Scotland 2018, not Victorian Britain. Let me give... Yes, of course.
Neil Finlay.
I think I've just asked that we be careful with language, because I don't think it should be applauded. I think it should be absolutely normal that people get paid for the work that they do.
Rona Mackay.
At that point, actually, you're completely right. This is Scotland 2018, not Victorian Britain. So let me give you a few examples of what we're talking about here. Of course, there was the headline case of a young man with Asperger's being dumped by B&M after 15 hours of free work. He was on the work rota for the following weeks when out of the blue he was told to go. He said, if it was really because I couldn't do that work, then fine. But they should have told me that during the work trial. I was led to believe I had the job. Presiding Officer, I find that disgusting and cruel. A chef proprietor of an upmarket restaurant in Edinburgh's Newtown failed to pay hospitality staff for working interviews, quotes, lasting between 2 and 4 hours. Past and present staff members confirmed that the chef was using dozens of unpaid trial shifts per week to cover busy periods and using desperate young workers as a free cleaning service. Well, here's my tip for him. Pay your workers and stop exploiting young people. Then there was the mother of a young man who said, my son worked in a well-known bakery for 6 weeks trial for no wages and no job. He eventually left. Presiding Officer, the size of the business doesn't matter when it comes to this exploitation. A leading discount supermarket is one of the worst offenders, who admit to having 150 youngsters per store coming in for unpaid work trials across the UK. One girl said, I went to one of these and it's actually slave labour. They use you to get the shop ready for opening time and get annoyed if you make any mistakes, even though you haven't been trained to do the job. Rachel, from my own constituency in Bearsden, told me, I did 2 unpaid trials of 5 to 6 hours each for a local restaurant, who then strung me along for weeks with the promise of shifts before ending contact. Presiding Officer, it has to be said that the hospitality industry is a terrible offender. I'm grateful to my friend at Unite Scotland, Brian Simpson, who worked in the trade himself, for supplying me with some shocking statistics of some of the work practices in that industry, and for informing me of the excellent campaigns being run by Unite, such as I'm Not on the Menu, which particularly addresses sexual harassment rife within the industry. Unite Scotland have also launched the Fair Hospitality campaign with a charter which codifies the reforms required to transform the hospitality sector for the benefit of the workers within it. As well as getting rid of unpaid trial shifts, these reforms include the implementation of the real living wage, rest breaks, 100% tips to staff, paid transport past 12 AM, an end to discriminatory youth rates and, crucially, trade union recognition. Presiding Officer, unpaid work trials are an outrage and can never be justified. So what can we as MSPs in this place do about it? Well, we can make sure the MSP in our constituencies vote for the bill, stop it being talked out in Parliament and turn up to vote for it at Westminster. Members of the public who may be watching this or listening can write to their MP and ask them to support Stewart McDonald's bill and contact Stewart at Westminster to lend their support to his bill. Above all, we must get the message out that working for nothing in 2018 is simply not acceptable. I ask those employers who think nothing of asking young people to do this to stop and ask themselves, would I want my son or daughter to be treated like that? If it's not good enough for them, it's not good enough for anyone else. Presiding Officer, although there's much more to be said, I'll finish now because I'm keen to hear the contributions from across the chamber. Thank you.
Speeches of up to 4 minutes, please.